Okay.
All right, thanks for joining us for this Parents Webinar. I'm Rob Abowitz from the Office of Residence Life in the Division of Student Affairs. Thanks to Mark Pontius, Director of Parent and Family Programs, for setting this up today and for all he does to communicate with and support parents and families of Miami students. If you have questions at any time during the webinar, please use the chat function in the bottom right corner of your browser. Mark will be reviewing your questions and passing them to me to address after my brief presentation. Let's do a quick review of the calendar. The last day of classes is on Friday, May 11th. Finals are from Monday, May 14th through Friday, May 18th. And the residence halls close at 7 p.m. on Friday, May 18th. Now, we appreciate parents and family support of students so they can end the academic year strong, they can avoid unnecessary charges, and that they follow procedures for move-out. So I've got a lot to cover, so here are 10 steps to a smooth end of the semester and move-out. Number one, we're going to call spring cleaning. We encourage students to get a jump on cleaning before finals, before their final projects and papers. They can box up things they know they won't need the last few weeks of the semester. They can submit work orders through My Card for anything in their room that needs repair. Sometimes we're asked, how is it possible that a student can study for and take finals all week and then move out by 7 p.m. on Friday? And the answer is spring cleaning and early packing. But almost everybody is out of the building by 7 p.m. on Friday. Number two, quiet hours begin on Friday before finals and extend all the way through the end of finals. You can help us remind your student that noise should not be audible from the hallway outside their room. There's no exceptions to the 24-hour quiet hours, and any problems they encounter with this should be directed to an RA or the resident director. Number three, your students should let their RA or RD know when they intend to check out of the residence hall. This will either be done through a sign-up sheet on their RA's door or through a Google form or a Google sheet that they'll receive from their resident director through email. This gives us a sense of when students are leaving, when we need the most coverage to do checkouts, and just to make sure that students are on the same page in terms of the timing of checkout. Number four, most importantly, they should study hard, get sleep, and eat well. We want them to do well on finals, and experts put more stock in sleeping and eating well than all-night cramming. So if they're looking for advice, or if you're offering unsolicited advice, that would be get good sleep, eat well, take an exercise break, and that is going to go as farther than perhaps doing all-nighters and studying. But that's part of what we want them to be successful in their finals. Number five, they should pack their room. Everything should be removed from their room. Their drawers and closets should be empty. Trash should be taken out to the dumpsters outside because the trash rooms will not be used during closing. This is a change from our normal procedures. They take their items directly to the dumpsters, both trash and recycling. Any carpets that are being thrown away should be taken outside to the designated areas for carpets. In some halls, it's an area that's identified by physical facilities. In other halls, they can put them straight into one of the big roll-off dumpsters. But if they're not taking their carpet with them and they're throwing it away, it should be taken outside. If they leave items in their room, that may result in extra cleaning charges that is unnecessary for them to face, so they should take everything out of their room. Number six, they should take any unwanted but still usable items to the ShareFest collection area in their building. There's a ShareFest pickup site in every residence hall. It's a non-profit initiative in Oxford where tons of food, clothing, furniture, and other useful household goods are diverted from the landfill and donated to agencies in our area. For a complete list of accepted and unacceptable items, go to sharefestoxford.com. I'd say, in general, what's not accepted are pillows, The foam pads that they sometimes purchase for their beds, those are not, because of health regulations, those are not acceptable. Food that has been opened is not acceptable, but just about everything else that they don't want, that is not broken, is acceptable to be donated. And we'll have volunteers from the community coming to pick all those materials up during closing. Number 7, they should clean their refrigerator. Now they should unplug it, empty it, defrost it, and clean the refrigerator, including the condensate drip tray in the back. This is one of the most common things that we end up having to charge students for, is a messy refrigerator that requires physical facilities extra time to clean. So they can avoid that by cleaning it out, maybe defrosting it a day or two earlier, so they're not dealing with the water coming off of the freezer during the time when they're trying to leave. When they're done cleaning it and they're moving out of the room, they should prop the refrigerator door open. We keep those open when they're unplugged so they don't get moldy. Number 8 is clean. Oh, I got to empty the mailbox. They should empty the mailbox in the building. Hold on, did I skip one here? Clean the refrigerator, clean ShareFest. Boy, it looks like I might have skipped one. All right, empty the mailbox. We'll get back to it. If they want their mail forwarded over the summer to an address other than their permanent address, they should go to the package center in the Shriver Center to let them know. Otherwise, their mail, any first-class mail they receive will be forwarded to their permanent address. And any packages that are received at the package center after closing will get sent back to the senders. So they should be careful if they're doing any purchasing online Amazon stuff, that it gets there before they leave. Otherwise, it'll be sent back. And perhaps their favorite step in the process is to clean their room. They've got to clean it, and before they leave, the room should be broom swept. There should not be any trash in the hallway around their room. They'll get charged for that. If they just sweep it out into the hallway or they dump the trash around their door, they'll get charged for the removal of that. We make available to students brooms and dustpans. There's some spray cleaner if there's a spill for food or whatever that they want to wipe up. We can lend them cleaning supplies before they go. The physical facility staff in the building, the housekeepers that they've come to know and work with over the year, are glad to lend out their materials. Step 10 is to, and this is kind of finally, when they're ready to leave, they should check out with an RA or an RD. They can find an RA or an RD in the lobby of their building, and they will come up and inspect the room. Every resident should check out with an RA or an RD. After the inspection, the resident will be given a chance to correct any problems, usually a cleaning issue, before they leave. Again, so they can avoid the charge and we can avoid putting all that work on the physical facilities staff. Any problems that remain in the room, damages, tape on the wall, not clean enough, materials left in the room, will be recorded in the online room inspection system, and that will result in the charges being forwarded to the student's bursar bill. Now, so we've been critiqued in the past, all this money we're making off of this inspection process, and I want you to trust me that this is not a moneymaker for the university. These charges are truly designed to be a deterrent for students. The better students leave the rooms, the easier it is for our staff to ready the rooms for summer conferences and residents. So we need students to do their part to avoid these charges. The resident director in the community will do a final inspection of all the rooms after closing. And in some cases, the physical facilities department may also add a missed charge after closing. In most cases, photos will be taken of the damage and the cleaning for which the student is being billed, and all that will get posted to MyCard. These charges will appear on the student's bursar bill later in the summer. All right, so that's the 10 steps for successful end of the semester and move out. One more note, any student who needs to stay after 7 p.m. on Friday of finals must request permission to do so through MyCard. They can begin making those requests on May 1st, and they must put in a valid reason for being approved. So if a student just wants to hang out or go get bagel and deli, that's not going to be approved. Typically, it's people who have travel restrictions. If they have a sibling who's graduating and they want to stay over, they can make arrangements to stay over. Students who are in the residence halls where we're hosting commencement housing, Clawson, Havikhurst, Beechwoods, Stonebridge, and Hillcrest, must make their request by Tuesday of finals so we can plan for commencement guests. Otherwise, they can request anytime during finals. Students will pay $37 per night to stay after closing unless they sign up late, in which case they'll pay $55 per night. All right, so at this point, I'm glad to respond to your questions. Again, you can type them into the chat box at the bottom right side of your browser, and I'll respond to as many of them as time permits. All right, Mark is handing me the first question here. Where is the drip pen? It's very easy to find. It's in the back of the refrigerator that we provide to all the students in the room. If you look at the refrigerator from the back and you see the cooling coils back there, and at the bottom is a little black tray. You pull it out, there's no gate or door or clasp or anything. It's just a little plastic pan the size of a small cereal box or a granola bar box. And that's, you just pull it out and you'll see whatever condensation has dripped in there. Sometimes it's empty and they're good to go, and sometimes depending on how that refrigerator was used, it could have all sorts of condensation in it. So that should be just emptied and rinsed and put back. Someone else asks, can they take things from ShareFest area if they need it? And the general answer to that question is no. We have tried to avoid that because when we invite people to take things from ShareFest, the area becomes a colossal mess. It's picked through, it's just strewn everywhere across the lobby. So we generally have the rule that if it's in the ShareFest area, it's going to the agencies. Now, I encourage students to share amongst each other and their friends when they're on their floor and getting packed up and walking through each other's rooms. That I encourage. But once they're down at the ShareFest area, we try to keep people from picking through it. There are 2 secondhand stores in Oxford, so that a lot of this stuff will go to the Family Resources Center store and Goodwill in Oxford, so they can buy this stuff for very cheap once it's through the ShareFest system. All right, next question. Found a power strip with property of Miami University when he moved in. Where should he leave it? He should just leave it on the desk or on the bed, somewhere obvious there. This only relates to certain buildings. We have provided power strips to the buildings that have not had the complete renovation yet, so they, we try to help them avoid using extension cords, which are against our fire policy. So we provide some students with a power strip. You should just leave it there and we will account for it. Question, is there an appeal process for charges? Mom took many pictures during move-in, but unsure if student documented it. Once those charges are posted, yes, you can call the home office at 513-529-5000 and you can ask about that. I would first ask your student to log into MyCard so you can view the pictures. Your student has access to the pictures that our staff have taken. So that might answer any questions you have about any charges, because sometimes the student's perception of how the room was ready and what the picture reveals is different. But so if you want to appeal a charge, you can do that. We do compare it to the room inspection that students did in the beginning of the year. So if like there was a chip of Formica off of a drawer at the beginning of the year and that was recorded, we certainly are not going to charge students for that. So if this question, the parent says, Mom took a lot of pictures during move-in, and if your pictures reveal something that was wrong with the room before the student even got there, for sure we're not charging you for that, and you should call if we make an error about that. All right, Let's see what else we got here. Rolling bins available, like during move-in. Rolling bins will be available on a much more limited basis. So housekeepers make it available, but there are not as many rolling bins available. In part because we did that years ago and we lost many of them. They just walked. So most people are just kind of slowly carrying things out to vehicles. There are some hand trucks and some flatbeds and some rolling bins that are connected with the buildings that are there, and you're free to use them and share them. I know of some parents who have brought, a hand truck from home, but for most students and the amount of stuff that they have, it's 2 or 3 trips, and they don't need a bin at all. Parking during the week is a question here. Let me start by saying you should not park on the grass. Like during move-in, we want to try to keep people off of the grass, and usually that time of year coming up, I mean, it's very wet in Oxford now, and or we've had rain the past week, and everything is kind of soft and mushy out there. So if we have, that's in part why we want to keep people off of the turf, and also because many of our areas have irrigation systems, and cars will damage those systems at a high expense to the university. So please stay off of the grass. Parking in particular on Friday of move out, which is when most of our students move out, is not enforced. I would make sure you do not park in the blue handicap spots if you don't have a handicap hang tag, because those may be enforced, and those are of course a very expensive ticket. But for just parking around the residence halls, you will not be billed during, certainly during Friday, and I think it's much more lenient on Thursday and Wednesday. But yes, you'll be able to pull up in front of the building much like when you left. Someone asks, are boxes available for students? And we don't make them available, but I would encourage your student right now to start looking around. Certainly if they go to the package center in Shriver Center, and just, I mean, if I stand there for 20 minutes, I see 5 big boxes that people discard right there. They have huge recycling bins in the package center. So I would suggest that your students right now, if they know they need some cardboard boxes, go to the package center, spend a half hour there, collapse some of those boxes and run them back to their building, put them under their bed. But we don't sell them or offer them. If they're unable to find boxes that are the right size or that they need from the package center, then they can go to local stores that sell them. Ace Hardware has boxes. There's a Walmart that they can use the bus to get to. There's a Gilman's Home Center that they can get cardboard boxes at as well. Sometimes I see students at the Kroger, which is also on the bus system, getting boxes for packing. And they go on, the day that the potato chip people are there, and there's plenty of boxes to go around there. So if they start looking now and they're resourceful, they can find the boxes for free. If they wait till Friday of move out, they'll be scarce, and then they'll end up having to improvise. A lot of people pack a lot of their soft things in plastic bags, clothing, bedding. They're just easier to carry out than boxes, and and you can get a lot more in plastic bags, and those are made available through the residence halls. In my card, what is the form or link called for late departure? That's a good question, and because it's not posted, I can't look at it right now. So what I do know is that it will be prominent. It will, in my card, they have a way of putting the button right up top, and that will be one of the top uppermost links when they log in. So if the student has a problem finding that link, if it's not obvious to them, they should talk to their resident director or can call the home office at 529-5000. and they'll make sure they have the link. But it should be obvious in my card for requesting to stay late. Another question here is there help for move out? And the answer is no. We enjoyed having lots of upper class students and volunteers from the community help people move in, but in part that was because everyone was moving in at the same time, is why we arranged for that. but we do not have specific help for moving out. A lot of people rely on each other, friends, other families that are there if there's bigger items that you need help carrying downstairs. But for the most part, you just kind of take 5 or 6 trips and move it out on your own. You know, the move out at the beginning of the year, a lot of that assistance was from second year and third year and fourth year students. And of course, they too are moving out and finishing their finals, so they're not available to be helping the first year students move out. All right, Mark, any other questions? If you have, that's all the questions that we've received through the chat. If you have other questions, feel free to direct them to your student's resident director, or you can email residencelife@miamioh.edu, or you can contact the home office through email at home@miamioh.edu, or by calling their office at 513-529-5000. Before we end, here's a question that just came in. When is move-in for August 2018, when they move in as an upper class student? Give me a second here, and I'll find you that date. So for upper class students moving into the residence halls as second year students, there's my calendar. Their move-in will be Saturday and Sunday, August 25th and 26th. Classes begin on August 27th, 2018, and they can move in starting that Saturday. If they have some reason to come early, like they're part of the marching band or part of a choir that's performing at convocation, or they work on campus, they're going to get their supervisor training, then they can arrange through their organization to come early. Students that have travel restrictions and want to come early can make arrangements through My Card, but they'll also pay a fee to come early prior to Saturday the 25th. All right, well, that's as good a way as any to end our webinar. Oh, hold on, no, we got some more questions here. Here they come. Do they need to vacuum rooms or just sweep? They just need to sweep. They do not need to vacuum or mop, or, you know, certainly if there's a big Gatorade spill, they should clean that up because they don't want to be charged for having housekeeping clean up a big Gatorade spill. But no, they don't need to mop the rooms, and most of the rooms don't have carpet. I think there are rooms in Miami Inn that have carpet, and there's vacuums available. Yes, if sweeping on those low pile carpets doesn't work, then grab the vacuum and give it a once over. But the rooms with the hard floors do not need to be vacuumed. Students switched rooms at semester. Are they still responsible for their old room, or was it checked when they moved out? For the most part, those are checked when they moved out. And any student that moved into a room and they weren't responsible for something that existed then, first of all, they should tell their RA or their RD right now. They should get ahead of that and say, hey, I just want to make sure you know that this blotch on the wall or this broken cabinet or whatever the issue is existed before they moved in. Do it now and get ahead of it. But for the most part, no, we're only charging students for what they're responsible for. And of course, there's the case where neither student in the room accepts responsibility, and then we charge them both because someone is responsible for whatever damage or cleaning. But if we have you know, a good faith report that the student was not responsible for it, we will not hold them responsible for it. Okay, I think that's our last question. Thanks everybody for your attention. And again, if you've got other questions, feel free to reach out in all those ways I listed earlier.